Well, right, because at one point you met with these two guys, Patrik Mathews and Brian Lemley.
Yep.
These are Boogaloo boys?
No, they were members of the base.
Because that's the base.
They were training for the Boogaloo. So that's where the confusion happens, because in the militia movement, anti-government, illegal movement, they say Boogaloo too. And you've got Boogaloo boys or the big luau boys or you see the flowered shirts is just another way to say Boogaloo. That is over here. But the base members, the guys, Brian Lemley and Patrik Mathews, they were base members, but they were wanting to kick off, again, like everybody. They want to accelerate the downfall of society. There's not a lot of forethought or afterthought in these people. In the base, we were looking at property in the Appalachian Americans to buy up, to make our own compound, our own ethno-state. There was another cell or cells up in the north in Midwest that were looking at the Upper Peninsula of Michigan to set up a compound. Nazaro had land in the Pacific Northwest to set up. And again, everything kind of ends with your own ethno-state.
Well, right, because in the Ozarks, they have this whites-only town they built. You know about this, right?
It doesn't surprise me, but okay.
Yeah, and what they're trying to say is that, well, there's nothing illegal about this because it's a private community. There's no state funds.
That's their compound.
And, it's a private club. We can invite who we want. Now, blacks and Jews are not allowed, but this is the type of thing that's kind of popping up. But with the two guys you mentioned, Patrik Mathews and Brian Lemley, they're actually looking to kick off a race war at a gun rally in Richmond, Virginia.
Yes.
In 2020.
Yes.
And you stopped them from doing this.
Yes. So as the case was, as there were so many different plots going on, and luckily for me and all the teams involved, because it definitely takes a village. I was the undercover, but there are tons of people working behind the scenes and covering me as well. We had uncovered several murder plots being planned by the Georgia cell. I guess you want to call it the Delaware cell, because that's where they were at the time. Pat and Brian and some others were thinking that what if that is the kickoff of the Boogaloo, that gun rights rally in Virginia? What if that's the kickoff? So imagine case teams and us as law enforcement trying to figure out, okay, how do we slow this down? But we got to make sure we got enough evidence, because we want to make sure we've got an airtight case to prosecute. And all that was coming down to the wire. Like, okay, when do we take it down? When do we not? And we had learned of several murder plots of the Georgia crew. And we had learned that Brian and them were planning some pretty bad stuff. And the Baltimore, FBI Baltimore, the case agent and the assistant United States attorney up there, man, they kicked butt. They did a wiretap on Pat and Brian's apartment. They had got an apartment next to them, and the stuff they were intercepting, I mean, I'd heard them say plenty of crazy stuff. I spent a lot of time with Pat. And I mean, Pat would just say, like, I mean, he would get teary-eyed and say that when the Boogaloo happens, if you're not fascist, that automatically makes you anti-fascist, and the penalty's death. And he would say, I'm going to give my dad a chance, but I may have to put a bullet in my dad's head.
Really?
Yeah.
He was killing his own dad.
More than once he said that.
Wow.
Yeah. And some of the other ones would be like, I mean, I could do it if I had to, but I'd probably ask somebody else to do it because I'd cry myself to sleep every day. And then another one would be like, well, you guys are farther along than me because there's no way I could kill my parents. But yeah, they were planning. I mean, some of the stuff they were intercepting, Brian and Pat doing, I keep wanting to call them by their code names. Brian was Can't Go Back. Pat was Punished Snake. And I was Pale Horse, which is the title of the book.
Behold a Pale Horse.
Behold a Pale Horse, yeah. So
I read that book. Total nonsense. Just absolute total nonsense. One conspiracy theory to another. I read through this.
I didn't read that book.
One of the worst books ever.
Yeah, I didn't read it, but I chose Pale Horse.
Well, no, I mean, I read some of it. At one point, I just gave up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no point.
I'm referring to the Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse.
Oh, that Pale Horse.
I'm
talking about the book, Behold a Pale Horse, which is one of these conspiracy theory.
Yeah. So my book is codenamed Pale Horse, but I was Pale Horse in the base.
Got it.
And, upon the Pale Horse name was Death. It's the Grim Reaper.
Well, ultimately, the FBI came in and started arresting everybody.
Yes, we were able to get enough on the murder plots We were able to get enough on Brian and Pat. And listen, Brian, yeah, Can't Go Back had a 6.5 Creedmoor with a $6,000 thermal scope on it. They were talking about, they built a ghost gun for Pat, who had absconded illegally into the United States from Canada because he was doxxed in Canada for being a white supremacist, a neo-Nazi. And at that time, he was a member of their version of National Guard. So he was being trained by their army. He was a member of that, and he got ousted for all that. So he illegally snuck into the United States. The base moved him and kept him hidden. So in his mind, he was a ghost. He could go kill whoever he wanted.
I mean, ultimately, the main members, how much time did they get?
I'm trying to remember the biggest lick. I don't know if a 12 was in there. I don't even know if there was a 10-year in there. It's probably going to disappoint your listeners to know the times weren't that big because of what we had to. But again, in domestic terrorism federally, there's not a statute. So I take you off for being a felon in possession. We take you off for murder plots, which is not federal, but we're going to prosecute you on the state level. We take you off for harboring an illegal alien, undocumented alien, however you want to say it. And that's what we ended up doing. And the way it played out was on a Wednesday in January of 2020, I went and picked up Luke, TMB, because he lived on a 100-acre farm. So, I mean, it's 100 acres. He has a farm. They had a barn that they converted into a living space and a house. Everything else is wide open. So from an arrest standpoint, it'd be kind of hard to sneak up without other people knowing coming into that area. So I did a ruse where I picked up Luke to take him to lunch and feigned that my truck was having issues, pulled over on the side of the road. I was working on my truck and the SWAT team hit him. And then we arrested the rest of the members of the Georgia cell, but we kept it quiet because Thursday morning SWAT teams were going to hit Pat and Brian and another member named Eisen. Go ahead.